My daughter is going through puberty and starting to develop. There is a boy in her class who is mean-spirited and says that she is a slut because she has big breasts. As a result, my daughter has always been self-conscious, holding her breasts in and hunching her shoulders, and even in the summer she wears long sleeves and wraps herself up tightly. The teacher doesn't care and the school doesn't ask questions. The other parent said, "Children's words have no harm, and what are you arguing with a child about?" So, in front of the whole school, I dragged the little brat into the toilet, poured some toilet cleaner in his mouth, and then shoved a toilet brush in. Since no one has taught you how to behave, I will. 1. The company project was finally finished after working overtime. Party A was very satisfied, and my boss gave me a short vacation. My wife made a reservation at my daughter's favorite restaurant. I drove to my daughter's school and waited for her to get off school. I waited a long time but didn't see anyone. Then I heard a boy next to me say, "I'll tell you what, there's an atomic bomb in our class, she's so hot." "What do you mean an atomic bomb?" his friend asked. The boy put his hands on his chest and made a rather lewd gesture. "Right here, it's as big as an atomic bomb." He must have been groped a lot, because the bigger he gets, his friend suddenly realized. I couldn't help but frown, thinking that kids these days are really precocious. When I was his age, I was just messing around with my best friend and snatching spicy sticks. At that moment, my daughter came out. I didn't have time to say hello. The boy excitedly shouted, "Look, look, the atomic bomb is coming." He stared at my daughter's chest with a lewd expression. "Look at her there, she's walking up and down." Then he yelled, "Hey, atomic bomb, where are you going to find a man tonight?" My daughter heard this and shuddered in fear, quickly hiding behind the crowd. But the bastard had no intention of letting her go. He took a few steps forward, grabbed her school bag and gazed at her chest. "What's the point of covering it up so tightly? It's so troublesome when you take it off." My daughter's face turned red, she lowered her head and tugged on her school bag. "What are you doing?" The bastard laughed. "What am I doing? Of course I want to fuck." "Oh, shit, who is this?" I kicked him in the butt and he flew out of the way. He fell on his face and got up, ready to fight. But he didn't dare, his face full of pimples turning red from the blood rushing to it. "Who do you think you are? Why did you hit me?" He got a slap in reply. I grabbed him by the neck and lifted him up. "Say what you just said again, and do it with some guts." He was gasping for breath and pounding my arm. I gave him another slap, and this time he was honest and didn't dare to move. Everyone around was looking at him, and he probably felt embarrassed. His eyes were full of tears. I said, "Apologize to her." He stuck out his neck and said, "Apologize for what? She's just a slut." I slammed him to the ground, then dragged him by his hair to the toilet. The security guard at the school tried to intervene, but I gave him a glare and he backed off. The male toilet on the first floor happened to be being cleaned by the janitor. I found a bottle of toilet cleaner in the cleaning cart and opened it. I grabbed his jaw and opened his mouth, and poured the rest of the bottle in. "Your mouth stinks, I'll give you a good wash." I found a toilet brush and dipped it into the liquid in the urinal. I thrust it into his mouth and rubbed it back and forth. He screamed and cried and retched. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. I looked at the half-dead little bastard kneeling on the floor and felt finally satisfied. I kicked him in the head. "What's your name, little shit?" But instead, he yelled at me, "You're dead, I'll tell my mom when I get home, and my parents will definitely kill you." I wasn't convinced, and I was about to hit him again when someone came in. 2. It was my daughter's homeroom teacher. We had met a few times before. She obviously recognized me too. "Chen Cheng's parents, how could you bully a child?" I said. "Do you know what he said to my daughter?" "What did he say?" I couldn't even say it, so I pointed at the little brat and said, "Ask him." Unexpectedly, the little brat's back straightened and he yelled, "So what if she's a slut?" I said the wrong thing. "She's just been touched by a lot of people." "You fucking." I kicked him, and he rolled away and hid behind the homeroom teacher. The homeroom teacher stopped me from hitting him. I said, "Teacher, you get out of the way. If I don't skin this little brat alive today, my surname won't be Chen." The homeroom teacher still defended him. "It was just a joke between kids." Why are you making such a big deal out of it? I thought my ears were playing tricks on me. What do you mean, it's not a big deal? Is this a fucking joke? The homeroom teacher said, it's not a big deal. You're a grown man, and you're fighting with a little kid. Are you ashamed of yourself? My anger flared up, and I pointed at her nose and yelled at her. How dare you, a piece of shit like you, call yourself a teacher? She was so angry that her fat face turned red, and her tone of voice cooled down. No wonder Chin Cheng's grades are so bad. It turns out the problem lies with the parents. With a father like that, what kind of parenting can there be? She fished out her phone and sent something out, not knowing what. There's nothing to communicate with people like you. I'll replace you with someone reasonable. My wife has always been the one to worry about the children. If I had known that the girl's homeroom teacher was such a jerk, I would have transferred her to another school a long time ago. After a while, my wife arrived. The homeroom teacher immediately started lecturing her. What's wrong with your husband? He's such a big man, beating up a little child. If this gets out, he'll be the laughingstock of the world. My wife really thought it was my fault and quickly bowed to apologize. At the same time, she whispered to me, what happened? I told her what had happened. She paused halfway through her bow, took off her high heels, and yelled in a voice an octave higher than mine, you little brat, how dare you bully my daughter? The 5-centimeter heel of her shoe fell like a pickaxe on the top of the bastard's head. This time, not only did the homeroom teacher try to stop her, I also stopped her. After all, if that thing really hit, it could kill someone. My wife was panting like a dog, pointing at the homeroom teacher and saying, you bitch, get out of my way, or I'll beat you up too. The homeroom teacher's face turned ashen, her chest rising and falling rapidly. It's true that you can't get two people to agree on anything. Your family is full of shit. My wife didn't want to waste any more time arguing with her, so she pulled the homeroom teacher away and pointed at the little brat and yelled, hubby, fuck him. I got the order, and I smashed him with a punch right there on the spot. The little brat screamed in terror and ran for his life. He ran, and I chased him. He couldn't escape. I beat him from the bathroom to the school gate. He was bruised and battered, and there wasn't a single good spot on his body. 3. Then the little guy's parents arrived. A short, chubby middle-aged woman with a haircut like a landlady saw her precious son being kicked around like a football. She let out a pig-like squeal, what are you doing? I thought to myself, does this person have a problem with their intelligence? They can't see this. So I paused for a moment and patiently explained to her, I'm beating someone up. Unexpectedly, she was not grateful, but pushed me, trying to push me away. But I didn't budge an inch, and she fell instead. With a crash, she sat on the brat's head. She even got a nosebleed. My son. She cried, holding the little one's face, how did you get beaten up like this? It's bleeding. I'll be honest, you sat on it yourself. The little one lay in his mother's arms, crying his heart out. His mother, trembling, fished out her phone and snapped at me, I'm calling the police right now, I'm going to have you arrested. I want you to go to jail. The little one also shouted, death penalty. Death penalty. I was tired of hitting him, but now I was in the mood again. Thinking that it would take a while for the police to arrive, I decided to play with him while I waited. I grabbed the little one by the ankles and lifted him up. Bang, bang, another beating. His mother tried to stop me, but she was no match for me. The police arrived. After hearing the whole story, they decided to split the blame 50-50. I would pay 300 yuan and the little thing would apologize. His mother screamed at 300 yuan, that's not going to jail. Just pay 300 yuan and end it. The police said, after all, your son did wrong first. No way. I said, no way am I giving him a penny. The cop sighed, look at what you've done to the other person. What do you mean? I took a look, and the little thing had a swollen eyelid, a crooked nose and mouth, limped when he walked, and was covered in bruises. It looked like he was a bit of a mess. We don't accept her weird and fierce attitude, tilting her head and glaring at me, saying harsh words. We're not done with this, I will definitely make you pay for what happened today, just wait and see. She took my picture again. I quite cooperatively gave a thumbs up. 4. Going home. My daughter was sitting alone on the sofa, head down in silence. I thought she was worried about falling out with the teacher and having a hard time in class in the future. So I sat down next to her, put my arm around her shoulders, and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid, honey. Daddy will find you a new school in a few days. We don't want to have anything to do with people like that." Unexpectedly, she let out a hiss and gasped in pain. My nerves immediately tensed. "Are you hurt?" I pulled her arm and rolled up her sleeve to see a large red burn. "What happened?" My wife rushed over as soon as she heard the news and was also shocked when she saw it. Then she hugged her daughter and asked, "Baby, who did this to you?" My daughter snuggled into her mother's arms and burst into tears. The sound of her crying cut like a dull knife into my heart. I was both heartbroken and furious. It took a long time for my daughter to stop crying, as if she had been holding it in for too long. It was Wang Li who poured hot water over me. "Who is Wang Li? Is he the one I beat up today?" "Well, what's going on?" My daughter fished out her phone, opened it and threw it to me. "You guys take a look." It was a video. Wang Li said into the camera, "Brothers, if you follow me, you'll never go hungry. Today I'll give you a big treat and show you the most slutty girl in our class with big boobs." The camera pans down, and my daughter walks past from downstairs. She must have just finished PE class. She's all sweaty, wearing a sun hat, and has taken off her jacket and is holding it in her hand. Then Wang Li takes a close-up of my daughter's breasts. Are they sexy? I'm asking you, are they sexy? With breasts like that, and not wearing a bra, she's just trying to seduce men, isn't she? Then he splashes a bucket of water over her. There's a loud splashing sound. My daughter was soaked to the skin, her wet t-shirt clinging to her body, her hair dripping wetly down her back. "It's so hot." My daughter jumped in pain. "Who was it?" Wang Li hid in the hallway and laughed so hard that tears came to his eyes. Wet seduction, family, isn't it exciting? The video ended after just over a minute. I had the urge to kill more than 10 times. My phone was clenched so hard it creaked. I'm definitely not going to let this little brat get away with it. "Honey, why didn't you tell Daddy when this happened?" My daughter whispered, "You guys seem to be too busy." A huge wave of guilt seized my heart, and I was in so much pain I could hardly breathe. "Don't just stand there, let's go to the hospital." My wife's voice was shaking, and her eyes were red. "What if she gets a scar?" I suddenly realized, yes, the hospital is the most important thing. 5. Hospital. The doctor said that my daughter was fine and prescribed some ointment, which she should apply for a few days. My wife was relieved when she heard that there would be no scars. At that moment, my daughter tugged my hand and pointed to the doctor. "My father is also hurt." "What about this?" "When playing Wang Li in the afternoon, he used too much force and broke a few holes in the joints." I smiled and said, "No, they're all minor injuries." The girl stubbornly said, "No, even if they're minor injuries, they still hurt, right?" The doctor laughed and said, "If my daughter were half as sensible as your daughter, that would be great." I nodded and said, "Yes, my daughter has always been well behaved." As I spoke, my nose grew a little sore. It's because she's too well behaved that she's been bullied like this. It was already midnight when I got home. My wife went to stay with my daughter. I smoked on the balcony, thinking about my next plan. My eyes glanced at a long string of WeChat messages on my wife's phone. I scrolled through them and saw that the meddlesome homeroom teacher had posted in the parents group. "Today, Chen Cheng's parents set a very bad example. I hope they can apologize immediately and write a letter of apology." A long list of parents followed suit, flattering her. Yes, I heard from my son that this father is really terrible. If the upper beam is not straight, the lower one will go crooked. I can't imagine what kind of child such a family can raise. The shrew was overjoyed by all this flattery, and kept at ing my wife. "Don't play dead. You've got the guts to hit someone's kid, but you don't have the guts to come out and apologize. What kind of parent are you?" I cleared my throat and sent a voice message with a proper tone of voice. "Bitch, listen up, I'll go fuck your mother." There was dead silence in the group. A few minutes later, the bitch's voice message popped up. "You have no quality. How dare you scold your teacher without quality?" It sounded like she was mad, and every word trembled. I sent a middle finger over. At this time, my wife came out. She had a sad expression and was holding a roll of plastic wrap in her hand. "What's wrong?" I asked. My baby was mocked for having big breasts. With red eyes, she said, "I used this to wrap up my breasts." 6. I immediately called my childhood friend, Dalu. This guy is a contractor, and there are plenty of other things about him, not least the fact that he is a muscular migrant worker. "Hello. How did you know I was washing my feet? Your sister-in-law is asleep. I'll tell you, there's a new bathhouse on Qingyang Road. The young ladies there are so fresh. I'll treat you if you come. Haven't you just finished your project?" I put it on speakerphone, and my wife heard every word. I said, "Stop fucking washing my feet, your goddaughter has been bullied." There was a moment of silence, and then her voice immediately raised an octave. "Who the fuck has the nerve to touch my goddaughter? I'll take someone to break his legs." I said, "It's hard to explain in a few words. Let's meet tomorrow morning and talk. You can bring some people along. I want to peel the skin off that family." Okay. 7. Wang Li was able to come to school the next day. Looks like I didn't hit him hard enough. He was buying a sausage roll from a street vendor outside the school gate and had just put it in his mouth when I slapped him across the face. "What are you doing, you idiot?" He was so stunned that he spun around a few times. "Why is it you again?" I didn't bother to argue with him, just kicked him over and dragged him by the hair to the car. He yelled, "Help, help." Several migrant workers were standing next to me, looking on coldly as the onlookers watched. Sure enough, none of them called the police. We got in the car and drove all the way to the KTV. The owner is friends with Dalu and had already booked a private room for us. Dalu waited at the door and, when he saw Wang Li, he also came up first and slapped him a few times. "You little brat, you dare to touch my goddaughter, you must be tired of living." Wang Li had already been beaten senseless and dared not cry, her mouth whimpering. She was dragged all the way to the private room and thrown to the ground. I took out my phone and pointed at the video and asked, "Where did you post this?" Wang Li's face turned white, and she shrunk into a ball on the ground. "Uncle, I really made a mistake. Uncle, I will never do it again." I stamped on his face. "You answer whatever I ask, and if you say one more word, I'll kill you. Do you understand?" Wang Li nodded frantically. "Where was it posted?" "On the school's bulletin board." I found the video on the school's bulletin board as expected. Without much effort, it was the top post on the homepage. There were hundreds of comments below, and the impact was immeasurable. "You motherfucker." I smashed a fist into Wang Li's face, and he vomited a mouthful of blood, along with 2 broken teeth. "Why do you keep picking on my daughter?" He was silent, shaking like a leaf. Even he didn't know why. There is just evil in the world for no reason. Those who believe that a slap doesn't hurt will definitely know in the future that a slap to the face hurts the most. Just because she's easy to bully, right? I pulled out my belt. Today I'll show you what it means to have evil people suffer the consequences of their own evil deeds. I turned a deaf ear to him. When the belt broke, Wang Li's eyes lit up, thinking that he was finally free. Lu immediately took off his belt and handed it to me, then squatted down and whispered in Wang Li's ear. "Don't be discouraged, little thing, we have plenty of belts." Wang Li rolled his eyes and almost fainted. 8. At this moment, Wang Li's phone rang. It was his father calling. I answered. "Son, I heard someone bullied you." "Who is this? Where is my son?" I said, "I'm the one who bullied your son." Then I pointed the camera at Wang Li and said, "Your son can't answer the phone right now, so if you have anything to say, you can tell me." Wang Li was covered in blood, and my school uniform had been pulled taut like a mop. "You fucking wait, if I don't kill you today, you won't know who's the boss on this block." I said, "Fine, I'll wait for you to come over, and I'll just get rid of you all at once." He was still saying harsh things over there. I was too lazy to listen, so I smashed the phone. Wang Li's father arrived soon after. He brought a dozen big men with tattooed arms. As soon as my son saw his precious, almost beaten heart, his eyes were bloodshot. "I'll fucking kill you." He was about to charge up, but our people blocked him. Brother How is the one. He then bent down and said to the leader of the thugs, "Kill him, and I'll give you twice the promised money." But Brother How didn't move, just stared at Big Lou, then took out a cigarette and handed it over respectfully. "Brother Lou, long time no see. I didn't expect to run into you here." Lou didn't take it because he was holding his trousers in his hands. "Not bad, How, you've done well," Lou said with a smile. "Now you dare to bring people to trash my place." "How dare I? There's been a misunderstanding. I'm not a gangster." I get anxious and go red in the face. "I didn't know it was you here. I'd never dare to mess with you even if I wanted to." Lou shook his head and interrupted the gangster's flattery. "My goddaughter, who I've known since she was little, has been bullied by his brat. What do you think should be done about this, Brother How?" "Oh, please don't call me Brother How. I can't accept that." The gangster turned to Wang Li's father and slapped him. "Say you're sorry to Brother Lou now." Wang Li's father took the slap but didn't dare to fight back. "Brother how can you do this? We agreed that you would give me the other arm." The thug gave him another slap. "What other arm? Do you want to die?" Wang Li's father finally realized the situation. His face went from white to red to purple, as if coloring the slap mark. At this time, Wang Li squinted his swollen eyes, gasping for breath. "Daddy, help me." His father was heartbroken, and wanted to save his beloved son, but was blocked from going forward. He gritted his teeth and said viciously to me, "Do you know you've broken the law? If anything really happens to my son, I'll make sure you go to jail." I had expected this to happen, so I turned around and took out a fruit knife from the fruit bowl. I held the blade towards me and handed it to him. "Now I'll give you two choices, either you stab me to death with this knife, or I'll go to jail for a few days, and when I get out, I'll keep on beating you until your son can't take care of himself, until he goes insane, until he's disabled. You're so capable, aren't you? You want to kill me, don't you? Go ahead. Point at my chest, stab here, no one will stop you, if you dare, go ahead." The tip of the knife is pressed against my chest, an inch away from my heart. I stared into his eyes without blinking. Lou was worried about me and took a step forward, ready to strike. I raised my hand to stop him. The atmosphere was tense, and no one spoke. At that moment, my phone rang. It was my daughter calling. "Hello, Dad, where are you?" I smiled and said, "I'm out doing some errands." "Have you applied your medicine? Remember not to get it wet." I looked down and saw the pink bandage my daughter had put on my fist. My heart softened. "Okay, Dad will remember. You just rest at home for a couple of days and wait for Dad to come home." My daughter obediently agreed. After hanging up the phone, I thought about my daughter waiting for me to come home and became a little impatient. I shouted at him, "Hurry up." He flinched and took a step back. The knife clattered to the ground. He's a father, but he's afraid to even play with his life. I kicked him in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. I grabbed his jaw and forced him to look up at me. "You're useless when you're given a chance. Since you won't teach your son how to be a man, then open your eyes and see how I've reduced him to a non-person." 9. I sat on the sofa, unbuttoned the cuffs of my shirt and rolled it up. I gave Wang Li, who was lying on the ground, a finger-crossing signal, "Get over here." He looked at his father subconsciously, but his father was also being held down by my men. He could only obey me and got up, limping towards me. His eyes were scared. I kicked him in the knee and sent him flying back. "I told you to get over here. Don't you understand what I'm saying?" He gnashed his teeth in pain, his swollen face covered in cold sweat. He had to hug his knees again, curl himself into a ball, and slowly roll over. He rolled off the road and ran to Big Lou's feet, who kicked him away. He crashed into the coffee table, knocking over a beer bottle that drenched him, and everyone laughed. I stepped on his chest and asked with a smile, "Little bastard, do you know what the hell of the torn tongue is like?" He wiped the blood from his nose, dared not look me in the eye, and shook his head carefully. I put on my gloves and slowly opened the medicine box. Inside were my newly purchased surgical tools, tweezers and a willow leaf-shaped scalpel, reflecting a cold light. The first of the 18 levels of hell is dedicated to people who slandered others while alive, were glib and persuasive, and had a silver tongue. Those who arrive at this level of hell have their skin peeled off and then their tongues cut out. After the tongue is cut out, a new one grows back quickly, and then it is cut out again. This goes on and on until the pain finally destroys you. I laughed. Now I'll do you a favor and give you a taste of it in advance, so that when you arrive at the underworld in the future, you can endure it a little longer. His face changed dramatically, and he got up and ran. Dai Lu, who had expected this, blocked him and kicked him back with one foot. I pinched his mouth shut and squeezed out a smile that I thought was kind. Be a good boy and open your mouth. Instead, his mouth tightened shut and he vowed not to open it. So I stomped on his wound with one foot, and he screamed in pain. He finally opened his mouth. Then I immediately used my mouth to hold open his mouth. If you don't want to do it the easy way, I'll show you the hard way. My tweezers gradually enlarged in his pupils. His desire to survive was bursting, and he actually gained some strength and tried to break free from my control. Seeing this, 2 migrant worker brothers came up and held him down from the left and right. He finally calmed down. I used forceps to hold his tongue and pulled it out. Then I turned on the blowtorch and held it close. As soon as the blue flame touched the tongue, it was immediately charred. Accompanied by a sizzling sound, a strong smell of burning spread immediately. Wang Li let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Don't go too far. His father fell to the ground, pounding on the floor and screaming, give someone a break. Give someone a break. I reached for my phone, opened the video and threw it over. Look at your son's masterpiece. Did he give my daughter a break? The water had just boiled. I signaled for them to let go, and Wang Li immediately collapsed to the ground like he had no bones. I crouched down and looked at him with interest as he lay half dead. Is this all you can take? His tongue was rotten and he could not speak, so he hissed and gasped for breath. I said, when you bullied my daughter, did you think about this day? He shook his head. I sneered, you poured boiling water on my daughter, did you think it was funny? It seemed like he remembered something, his pupils contracted sharply, and he tried to run again. I grabbed him by the collar, picked him up, pointed at the kettle of boiling water, and said, drink it, and I'll let you go. He cried, tears falling down his face. His father said, brother, I know I was wrong. Can I drink it for him? I ignored him, and he said again, I'll pay, I'll make amends, name your price, as long as I have it, I'll definitely give it to you. We're both fathers, let's show some mutual understanding. We're both fathers. I interrupted him with a cold smile. Then you should know how much I want to kill him right now. There are 2 ways out of this, he can either drink it or die. I guess my expression must have been terrifying. Wang Li suddenly knelt in front of me, sobbing and begging for mercy, and lifted the kettle to his mouth. The moment the boiling water hit the wound, Wang Li rolled on the ground in pain, his facial features distorted beyond recognition. This scene not only failed to arouse the slightest bit of sympathy in me, but instead made me feel even more distressed for my daughter. What kind of pain would she feel when a large basin of water was poured over her? His father said with a quavering voice, she's already drunk it, can you let us go? I said, finish it for me, not a drop left. Otherwise I'll kill you. Wang Li turned his head to look at his father, his eyes full of despair. His father closed his eyes in pain. Go ahead and drink, he's crazy. So Wang Li could only get up and take up the kettle. He took 2 sips, paused, and spat out a mouthful of blood. He took 2 more sips, and then spat again. Finally, he finished the water, collapsed on the floor, and vomited blood from his stomach. His mouth was full of bubbles. 10. The ambulance pulled up at the karaoke bar. The owner didn't want them to disturb the customers, so he opened the small door. A few security guards carried Wang Li's limbs and threw them onto the stretcher. Hurry up and go. Luda followed in the car with 2 people, saying that he would help me clean up. I bought a cup of milk tea and a box of fried chicken for my daughter. Before, my wife wouldn't let her touch these things, saying they were full of preservatives. But I felt like making an exception today. We're home. My daughter happily took the fried chicken and beamed. My wife frowned, as if she was about to lecture me on health and nutrition. I quickly smiled and begged for mercy, it's fine to eat it once in a while, and the girl is happy. I pushed her into the kitchen. What did you do today? My wife asked. I told her the whole story with a few embellishments. My wife was enthralled, and gradually revealed an expression of admiration. Wait, they were both father and son, each carrying a double-barreled shotgun, and you killed them both with just a knife. You've seen The Matrix, right? As I said, it happened so fast. I ducked to avoid their bullets, then flicked my wrist, and my flying dagger flew over to them with a bias sound, hitting their wrists. I was trying to describe the scene as it happened, but unfortunately my physical condition didn't allow it. Halfway through the duck, I couldn't get up. Daughter-in-law, help me up, my back is breaking. You keep playing. At this time, Dalu sent me a video. The background of the video was a hospital. He led someone to Wang Li's father in the hallway and asked with a smile, "Do you want me to call the police for you?" His father said, "Don't you think you can cover up the sky with one hand? I don't believe the law can't control you either." Lu didn't change his expression. "Of course the law can handle it, what are you talking about? You can report it, it's just a trivial matter, he'll be out in half a year at most." His voice dropped, "But as long as my brother stays in there for a day, I won't let you go for a day. There's always a time when you're not being watched, right? There's always somewhere that the surveillance cameras can't reach, right? By the way, you work in procurement, I really want to see the accounts you keep, are they clean enough?" Before he finished speaking, his father's face changed. At this point, Xiao Hao put his arm around his father's shoulders and offered to smooth things over. It was just a minor misunderstanding between kids, and it didn't have to get so ugly. As for what happened today, it's true that your son did something wrong, but let's just forget about it, shall we? Do me a favor and let's just call it even, shall we? His father seemed to have all his strength sucked out of him, and he slumped to the ground in defeat. Dalu gave a hee laugh and gave the camera an okay sign. 11. I thought that was the end of it. I was already talking to my wife about changing schools for the kids. But then someone interrupted. Wang Li's mother came knocking. She banged on the door. "Don't pretend you're dead. You think hiding at home and keeping quiet will make it go away? You beat my son up like that, and I'm not finished with you." As soon as I opened the door, she lunged at me. As soon as I pressed her head down, she couldn't reach me anymore. But her little arms and legs were still trying. "Let go of me. Your whole family is a bully, bullying my son. I'll kill you all," she yelled hysterically. I let go of her hand, and she slammed into the wall with a thud due to inertia. It was a clear sound, and it sounded like a good head. "You even hit a girl. Who in the family understands? An old woman in her 40s calling herself a little girl is really despicable." I was speechless, watching her sit on the ground and throw a tantrum. My daughter was kind and went over to help her up. But she took her kindness as insolence and grabbed her daughter's arm. "Little bitch, it's all your fault that my son is like this, I hope you die a horrible death." I said, "I don't hit women, but don't make me treat you like one." As soon as she heard this, she immediately let go of my daughter's arm. Evil people need to be opposed by evil people. The neighbors heard the commotion and gathered around. She suddenly found her voice and pointed at me, saying, "This bully is bullying my son, you see what he is doing." She took out a tablet from her bag and played the video of me beating Wang Li over and over again. She thought this would arouse the anger of the crowd. Unfortunately, she miscalculated. Everyone has known each other for decades and is as familiar with each other as if they were family. "Chen, you can do a backflip, have you practiced before?" Uncle Da gave a thumbs up. "Wow, why didn't you call me when you got into a fight?" Biao, who has been going to the gym for 8 years, flexed his arms, which were 45 centimeters around, and asked, "Did you not consider me a brother?" "Yes, and you fought so lightly. Haven't you eaten?" Old Lu rolled up his sleeves to reveal his big, muscular arms. "If I were there, I would do what the hero in City of Lights did and throw him into the septic tank, where he would swim for 3 days and nights." I said, "Sorry everyone, I've embarrassed you with my mild tactics. I'll make it up to you next time." Her mother was so scared that she quickly put away the tablet. She pointed at us, her fingers and voice trembling, "You are nothing but a bunch of devils." 12. Misfortunes never come singly. As soon as her mother left, the homeroom teacher started acting up again. She posted a notice in the WeChat group. In view of Chen Cheng's parents' previous bad behavior, which has caused great damage to the school's atmosphere, I have decided to suspend Chen Cheng from school for 1 month and require him to write a 10,000-character self-reflection. The sycophantic parents all chimed in. The teacher is awesome, that's exactly what should be done. The teacher did the right thing, bravo. I heard that the teacher is one of the top 10 teachers in the city, she really lives up to her reputation. I wanted to send another middle finger, but I found that I had been removed from the group chat. At the same time, there was an application for friendship in my address book. It was the homeroom teacher. Bitch, how long have you had this brain disease? She sent a few 60-second voice messages, and I knew the content without having to open them. She put on a good front in the group, but her true nature was revealed in private. I said, "You lousy school, lousy teacher, I don't want to be here anymore." "Who do you think you are?" She said, "Haha, you don't want to be here anymore. This is a key municipal school, and you must be regretting it now. I'm telling you, unless you beg me, don't even think about coming back." I said, "You really need to get some treatment for your brain, because if you keep putting it off, it's not going to get better." Then she broke her silence again and sent a barrage of voice messages wishing my immediate family good health. I blocked her immediately. The world is a much cleaner place. 13. The two bitches' retaliation soon began. In the evening, Delu sent me a link. The headline was really intimidating. The underworld is lawless, and someone committed a public assault on campus. Is there anyone to control them? It was the video of me beating Wang Li. His mother hadn't even blurred out my face. At the end of the video, his mother was crying bitterly into the camera. Our child is so well behaved, but someone bullied him like this. Is there anyone who can help us? Now my child is afraid to go to school at home, and I don't know what to do. For the sake of the program, she even put on a bruised and battered makeup. The video didn't get many views, with only single-digit likes and 1 comment. This is a society ruled by law, they won't be arrogant for long. I've already asked their child to drop out of school. Don't worry, I'll always be on your side. The ID looked familiar. Could it be the homeroom teacher? Luda said, "They're planning to expose you online. What do you think? Do you want me to help you cool things down?" I retweeted 800 likes and added, "Don't suppress it, let it get more and more popular." Then, I posted overnight to find internet trolls. I found more than 1,000 accounts and kept liking this video. The popularity really took off. Soon, the number of followers increased day by day. In just 1 day, it became the top trending topic on Weibo. The discussion continued unabated. I have to say, Wang Li's mother is a natural-born actress. She did 3 live broadcasts in a row, crying non-stop for 6 hours. The performance level of her crying scenes is so rich that some young actors can learn from it. Lu and I switched to a smaller account and pretended to be true fans in the comments section. We claimed to be victims too and kept setting the pace. Lu Xian's mother, Lu, my child Lu Xian, was also bullied by this Chen. Her mother, really? What did your child do? Lu Xian's mother, he stole my spicy snacks, played with my Ultraman doll, didn't finish his summer homework, and told my parents about the porn DVDs I rented from the DVD rental store in my drawer. I said, "You remember things from your childhood so clearly." Lu Xian's mother wiped away a tear. "Of course I do, I'll remember you forever." We talked for a whole afternoon, and Wang Li's mother and homeroom teacher were already on the verge of becoming sworn brothers and sisters with us. I saw that the time was ripe. Then I encouraged them to expose my family's private information. They were so flattered that they posted it online without saying a word. I took screenshots one by one. Well, that's one more sin. Public opinion is still fermenting. I'm holding onto important evidence and staying put. The higher she jumps now, the harder she'll fall in the future. The mood in the live broadcast room was extremely heated, and the emotions were already in the right place. Delu told him to bring the army of justice to my house to settle the score face to face. Wang Li's mother slammed the table and said she would do it. Half an hour later, there was a lot of commotion downstairs. I peeked out and saw that there were at least 80 people there, if not more. There were also quite a few local internet celebrities, broadcasting live on their phones. Chen Shan, you get out here. Wang Li's mother and the class teacher, feeling confident in their newfound power, stood with their arms folded below my house, looking triumphant. You're so capable, aren't you? If you're so capable, you can beat us all up. I dare you. Actually, the door was always open, and my wife and daughter had gone to Delu's house. They can come in at any time. But they just had to put on a show and complain to the onlookers. You have no idea how hateful this family is. It's like the mafia. They beat people up and don't admit it. Scum. Scum. The crowd became even more angry. It's 2023 now, and there are still things like this. The class teacher burst into tears. Yes, they even cursed at the teacher. They had enough of the show and finally came up. They were taken aback when they saw me sitting in the chair, looking carefree. It seemed to be different from what they had imagined. I wasn't crying, I hadn't admitted my fault, and I wasn't kneeling before them to beg for forgiveness. This is the man. Her mother pointed at me and said to the crowd, this is the animal who sent my son to the hospital. Come on, expose him to everyone. People kept raising their phones at me, and the flashlights made the living room bright as day. It was the first time I had been photographed by so many people, and I was a little excited. I gave a thumbs up sign and said, "You still dare to be arrogant." The homeroom teacher was so angry that her nostrils were flaring. She was so stubborn. That I said, "Why apologize? What do you think? You insulted the teacher in the class group, and you hit someone at school. Don't apologize. You even sent my son to the hospital." Wang Li's mother added, "Apologize, pay compensation, kowtow and admit your fault, and I'll let you off." I said, "An apology is enough. No other compensation." They looked at each other, thinking that I really had a desire to settle things amicably. Chi revealed their greedy faces. "We also want 200,000 yuan in medical expenses. And a 10,000-word self-reflection. I want to hold a parents' meeting and read it out in front of all the parents in the class, so that they know the cost of disobeying the teacher." I said, "No more." They hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's do all this first, and then we'll decide whether to forgive you." "Great," I said, extending my hand to them. "Here's 200,000 yuan. They were stunned. "You want money from me? Are you kidding?" They turned to look for support. "Look everyone, this person doesn't even care about his face anymore." But no one answered him. Everyone was looking at their phones, their brows furrowing. We posted clarifying posts as soon as they went upstairs. Videos of Wang Li splashing water and surveillance footage of Wang Li insulting my daughter. And the graphic evidence that Delu dug up, that the homeroom teacher was privately running a tutoring class. The facts are clear and the evidence is conclusive. The bullet flew around for a while, and now it's just hit the target. So you're calling the thief? You're the ones who bullied the little girl in the first place, and now you're shamelessly turning the tables. This is a reversal of the situation. If you ask me, this brat doesn't deserve to be beaten to death. This is the first time I've seen someone try to expose themselves online. Wang Li's mother snatched the phone from a young man nearby, swiped it around, smashed it on the ground, and yelled at the top of her lungs. "It's all fake, don't believe it. It's him who hit my son." The young man kicked her to the ground. "No, madam, are you sick in the head? That's my phone. Saying that someone is fake, do you have any evidence?" An older man asked with a sneer. "Evidence? Yes, I have it." She seemed to remember something, made a phone call, and said, "I have a witness. I'll let her speak to you." Then, in the bedroom, Delu's phone rang. "Lu Xian's mother, where are you?" "I'm right behind you, Wang Li's mother." "Lu Xian's mother, what is it?" 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 Lu Xian's mother, what is it? 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 Lu. Wang Li's mother's face paled and her mind went blank. You are Lu Xian's mother. Even if they had never met, Wang Li's mother would not have been stupid enough to categorize this creature as a mother. Your child has also been bullied by him, hasn't he? Wang Li's mother grabbed at Lu Da's plump arm, as if it were her last straw. What are you talking about? Big Lu said with a smile, didn't we agree that I would frame him after he paid me first? You haven't even paid me yet. When did I say I would pay? Oh. So you're planning to have sex for free? No, that's not what we agreed on WeChat. She finally reacted, oh, you're in cahoots. The onlookers didn't understand the intricacies of the situation, but the word frame was enough to provoke their sensitive nerves. I did go a bit too far with this. When you're dirty, the best way to do PR is to muddy the waters. It's just crying, everyone can do it. I wiped away the tears. Who among my family understands? We're so miserable. A teacher, a wealthy family, colluding together to bully our family. I'm a weak man, where am I their match? But, a young man hesitantly spoke up, didn't you beat her son pretty badly? That was self-defense. His son hit me pretty hard too. I raised my right hand, look at my pinky, it's all peeled. In the crowd, our arranged brothers immediately started the beat. Insulting someone's daughter and beating up her father, that's really too much. Everyone's emotions were suddenly ignited, and they condemned the two bitches. Good, good. The class teacher gasped for breath, you got the better of me today, we'll see about this. And pulled Wang Li's mother to leave. Want to go? I blocked their way with a quick move. Do you think my home is a market? You can come and go as you please. You are the ones who want to make a big deal out of this. Lu Da slammed the table so hard that the teacups jumped a few times. You want to get out of this mess after making such a big deal. Nothing in the world is that good. 14. I found some influential local self-media accounts. They broadcasted the whole thing live from the moment they entered the room. The popularity seemed to be pretty good. It even alerted the school principal, who personally came from afar to help the homeroom teacher out of the situation. Along the way, the principal called me many times to appease me. I looked at the homeroom teacher and thought to myself, this bitch really has some powerful connections. If I let her off the hook today, there will definitely be more children who suffer in the future. 2 hours later, the principal arrived. A thin middle-aged man, he bowed to apologize to me as soon as we met. Teacher, his personal actions have had a very bad impact on you and your family. He said that I would definitely rectify the school's ethos and discipline when I returned, and that I would definitely not let this bullying happen again. Without mentioning the tuition class, he quickly made it sound like the homeroom teacher's personal actions, and he really got himself off clean. This person is even more slippery than I thought. It's not impossible for me to forgive them, but there are some conditions. I said. The principal immediately said, please go ahead, and we will do our best to meet your demands within our capabilities. 200,000 compensation, 10,000 words of self-reflection, and a parents' meeting. I pointed at the homeroom teacher and said, I want to hear her read out the self-reflection without missing a word. 200,000. Wang Li's mother almost jumped up and said, you might as well just go and rob it. I laughed and said, isn't this the condition you said earlier? You also think it's too much. Then, she turned red and couldn't say a word. If all the above conditions can be met, the headmaster said, can we consider this matter closed? No. First, let's do this, and then we can talk about the future. I said, you hurt my daughter, and she has to forgive you. It was all her fault. The homeroom teacher suddenly turned against me, pointing at Wang Li's mother and saying, I actually didn't want to do it. I can get the money together, but forget about the apology. After all, I'm also a teacher. You know you are a teacher. I said, you have half a day to think about it. Either you do as I say, or I will report you for running a cram school to the Education Bureau. Mr. Chen, don't be impulsive. The headmaster gave the homeroom teacher a wink, and told her to apologize quickly. 15. The parents' meeting was scheduled for the weekend. In the meantime, the homeroom teacher called me countless times. She said a million sorries, trying to get me to forgive her and cancel the parents' meeting. But I refused all of them. So she turned to harassing my daughter. One day, my daughter showed me her phone, and the homeroom teacher had sent a long WeChat message. The general meaning was, "I am your teacher and I have always liked you." This incident was her negligence, but she has done her best to be fair. Now she wants to apologize and hopes that my daughter can persuade me to cancel the parent-teacher meeting. Because it is not easy for her either. There were many emotional quotes. A teacher is like a mother. No teacher doesn't want their students to do well. The teacher always knew you were a well-behaved and sensible student. I hope the teacher does all this, and it's not too late to mend the fold. Please give the teacher a chance to make amends. My daughter had never seen anything like this before, and she didn't know what to do on the spot. She asked me, "Dad, do you want me to forgive them?" I said, "You are the victim, and no one has the right to forgive on your behalf. I won't make any decisions for you, but I will always be there for you." She nodded, not knowing what to think. The day of the parents' meeting. My wife and I arrived early. My daughter stayed in my wife's arms the whole time, not looking up. The other parents didn't know what was going to happen, so they asked each other. It wasn't the end of the semester, so why was there a parents' meeting? Wang Li, who had bandages all over his body, was huddled in the corner. He trembled when he saw me. Amidst the noise, the class teacher walked in. Everyone's attention was focused on her. The classroom fell silent. She saw me and her face turned pale. She bit her lip. I don't know who she gave a wink to. The parent sitting next to me nudged my elbow. She handed me 2 large brown paper bags. 200,000 in cash. I looked up and saw the homeroom teacher and Wang Li's mother looking at me hopefully at the same time. Still thinking about it. I said, "If you've done something wrong, you should apologize. Teacher, don't struggle." Pointing at Wang Li, I said, "Get up there and apologize to her." Wang Li seemed to have been put off by my beating and didn't even put up a fight, climbing up to the podium without a trace of resistance. "Let's get started," I said. Reluctantly, the class teacher took out the crumpled script from his pocket and spoke in a mosquito-like voice. "Today, I have gathered you here to ask for your supervision. Some time ago, I did something very bad. Put a microphone on me," I said, and my voice was not very loud when I spoke. Now everyone finally understood what it was about. The homeroom teacher did as she was told. As a teacher, I should not have turned a blind eye to this kind of bullying. Here, with 100,000 apologies and with all sincerity, I apologize to the parents of Chen Cheng. Her voice echoed throughout the floor, and every word trembled. The parents whispered to each other, and the homeroom teacher blushed as if her face were about to bleed. As she continued, I felt something was wrong. She was again avoiding the main point. Talking about how difficult it was to be a teacher. She also said that no one was perfect, that it was normal for children to have some friction, and that there was no need to overreact. After a whole 20 minutes of brainwashing, she finally said, "Chen Cheng, are you willing to forgive your teacher?" The other parents chimed in, saying, "It's not a big deal, just forget about it." I said, "When I hold your child over the toilet, I hope you can forget about it too." No one dared to speak again. "Do you have anything to say, honey?" My wife asked her daughter in a low voice. Said the daughter, looking up at her teacher and Wang Li, her gaze gradually becoming resolute. "I don't want to forgive you." She clenched her fists, and said, word for word, "Teacher, this isn't the first time I've told you that he bullied me, but you said it was my problem, otherwise why wouldn't he go bully someone else? But how is it my problem? I'm just developing a little earlier than my classmates. My mother told me that puberty is the beginning of me becoming an adult, and it should be a beautiful thing. But my youth was almost humiliated by you and Wang Li into a slut. These injuries will always be there, so why should you be able to live the rest of your life with peace of mind just because you said a light-hearted sorry?" She was choking and unable to speak. I held my daughter's trembling hand to give her strength. She took a deep breath and said slowly but firmly, "I will never forgive you, the harm you have caused will always be there, and so will my hatred." After that, she threw herself into her wife's arms and wept loudly. "Chen Cheng, listen to what your teacher says. The class teacher became anxious and came down to take her hand. I slapped her away. Don't touch my daughter. We'll slowly work out the matter of your running a cram school and your son's post. You can't go back on your word after taking the money, Wang Li's mother shouted. I threw the money in their faces. Keep it for your coffins, and I'll see you in court. 16. The homeroom teacher was kicked out of the teaching profession because of the tutoring class. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. The incident of accepting gifts was also exposed. The parents who used to fawn over her all formed an Avengers alliance. Together they emptied her house to pay off the debt. In the end, I don't know where she went. She was threatened with a carrot and a stick by Big Lou. In the end, Wang Li's father didn't dare to pursue the matter of me hitting his son. But Wang Li's mother spread my personal information, plus posts from his son. I didn't miss a thing. I had to pay 130,000 yuan and handwrite a 10,000-character apology letter, which I submitted with a bow. In the end, this little thing dropped out of school. No school wanted to accept him. He also developed a stutter. He then got a job in an electronics factory and I ran into him in an alley last weekend. He was cornered by a few hooligans and beaten up. I don't know what he did, but no one came to his aid. I chose a good school for my daughter and she went on to study. Her grades steadily improved. It was only later that I learned that the homeroom teacher had leaked questions to the students in her supplementary class and then called on her classmates to isolate those who didn't attend the supplementary class. He deserved to die. I, on the other hand, reduced the frequency of my work and spent time with my daughter every week. It ended perfectly. In the dining room, my wife stretched contentedly after a good meal. Then her arm snapped onto my shoulder. Honey, there's something I've always wanted to ask you. I didn't know the end was near and I was still munching on the spare ribs. What is it? It was the other day when DeLu asked you to wash his feet. From the tone of his voice, it sounded like you go there a lot. I had a start, that was before we got married. I haven't been there since, I swear. My daughter quietly took out a foot massage membership card. Dad, I found it in your drawer. Then she went back to eating ice cream. I broke into a cold sweat. I swear to God, I really haven't been to a place like this since I got married. My wife was smiling, her face full of amusement. I'll see how you can get away with this. Coincidentally, DeLu called me again. I picked up the phone with a stiff neck and silently prayed that the son of a bitch wouldn't say anything stupid. Chen, what are you doing? Are you free now? Let's get together. The foot massage parlor on Qingyang Road I told you about last time has opened a branch. The owner is a friend of mine, and I got you a card. I left it in the drawer when I went to your place last time, so go look for it. We should go together sometime. You used to love foot massages. Me. Hangs up the phone. Tells his wife, see, I told you I haven't been there since I got married. Wife nods, how many times did you go behind my back when we were dating? Ah, you're coming at this from a different angle than I am. You'd better explain yourself. How would I remember? It was all more than 10 years ago. Besides, I only go to the proper places. You still want to go to the improper ones? Well, not really. Never mind, I was wrong. Honey, forgive me. Girl, help convince your mom. Girl, I'm not your mom, I can't forgive you in your place. Me, you're turning what I taught you against me, little girl.